Animal Farm by George Orwell. I really like this book because it reads really easily. Like, it's not hard to get through. There aren't that many big words, but you only have to look a little bit deeper into it to understand that there's like a whole, like, it's extended metaphor and like there's so much depth to the book, even though it reads like a little kid's book about animals taking control of a farm. And it's just really fun to look at the parallels between real life, like in history, and Animal Farm. And I just really enjoyed doing that and like piecing all of it together.
Why do you think it's a good summer reading choice?
It's not that hard to get through, and it's also like a good, like, you can read it all in one go. Like, I sat down, I read the entire thing, and then I spent like a week after it, like thinking about like, oh well, this connects to this and this connects to this. So it's like a good thing to think about over a long period of time, but it doesn't take that long to read. So it's good like to read over the summer and then just think about.
Right. What kind of people, or what kind of person rather, would you recommend it for?
Someone who likes like mid 20th century European history, probably like World War II kind of people who like that kind of stuff, because it's not bloody, it's not like a war book, but at the same time it relates really heavily to that sort of time period and mentality. The Princess Bride by William Goldman. I really like this book. I especially remember I read it when I was a kid, and I read multiple times through middle school and like freshman year and up till like last summer. And I remember watching the movie as a kid, and then reading the book is just so much better. And there's like nuances, and it's funnier. There are like little anecdotes and things that get lost when you watch the movie, because everyone kind of knows the basic story of it. Like, we have all seen it. We watched it in like 8th grade together, but it's just really, it comes together. It's a better story, and it's like a really good narrative, like beginning to end. It's really like amusing and engaging.
So what kind of reader would like the book Princess Bride?
Someone who likes fantasy, but not like stuffy high fantasy, like not like Tolkien or like the Aragon books. Like, this is like, it's fantasy, but it's got like a real good comedy element. So if like you really like funny books that aren't like too intense, like it can be intense, but it's not like hard to read intense, you would like the Princess Bride.
We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. This book is really good, and it doesn't make sense at all, like, as you read it, so like it keeps you reading because you're like, why? And it's got like this horrible life-ending plot twist at the end. It like ruined me as a person. But
So why would people want to read this?
because it's so good. Like, if a plot twist in a book can like quote end your life, that like, wouldn't you want to read it and like know what it is? Like, it's so good that like you're that invested in it that happened. But don't look up anything about it before you read it, or it'll ruin the whole thing. You can't look up anything.
And so what kind of reader would like We Were Liars?
It looks like a dumb teenage book. I kind of thought it was at first, but then then I read it and it was really good. And my little sister liked it too, even though she was a teenager. So probably like, I don't know. I think girls and boys would both like it. I don't think it's like one gender, because it is really good. But you have to like ignore like the stupid cover art and like actually read it, and then it's good. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. This book is really good because even though it has like old language and stuff, like Elizabeth Bennet is like the main character in the book, and she's like a super strong female role, and it is like, it's a love story, obviously, but like that's not all there is to it. Like, there's more to it. And then there's like her sisters, Mr. Darcy, and an annoying girl who tries to get Mr. Darcy the whole time, but she fails. And it's I don't know, it was really good. I really liked it, but I'm like a romance novel person. But I do think that Elizabeth Bennet is like an inspirational like female role in a thing, because if your parents are anything like mine, they always tell you to be a lady, don't do that, don't do this. And Elizabeth is like that, her mom is like that, and she is against it, and she is just like a strong character in general.
Oh, hello there. I did not see you. I was busy reading March. An interesting graphic novel. It's by John Lewis and some artists that don't really matter, but they kind of do. It's one of your summer reading choices, I understand. So, you'd like to read March. It's a lot of pictures, so you might like that, except it's tricky, because there are words that go with it. It's a good story about a man figuring out who he is in the middle of the 1950s and 60s. The civil rights movement is just beginning, and this is about John Lewis's, a real human being, by the way, his involvement in that, how he gets involved and leads several lunch counter demonstrations. It's part one. There are 2 other parts out right now. I would encourage you to read all of them because the story doesn't end so much as it kind of stops. And who doesn't like a happy ending?
Mr. Laverne, what kind of person would be drawn to a book like March?
Well, anybody that likes or is interested in American history, especially the 1950s and 60s. Anyone who is really into the civil rights movement. Here is a figure that's not often focused on. You hear about Malcolm X, you hear a lot about Martin Luther King Jr., and John Lewis was as instrumental and inspirational to these men as he was to the whole movement itself. In addition, anybody who is interested in comic books would read it because it really does tell the story nicely. It's a nice blend where the pictures tell the story more than the